This is absolutely unacceptable, talking about peace when we do not have that trusted one of the side of this negotiation. We, Ukrainians, do not accept any proposal as a compromise to give our territories. It's bring Ukraine in European security. So UN absolutely inefficient in security. In our part of the world, in Europe, is NATO. We should be a member of NATO. NATO, by the way, sometimes demonstrate weaknesses. First step for us, maintain security in Europe.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center and Euroatlantic Course NGO. My name is Lesa Pidochko, and today we'll talk about very hot topic of the latest day, geopolitical topic, the negotiations of Ukrainian President Zelensky and his Turkish counterpart Erdogan and UN Secretary-General Guterres. Let's turn our attention to our guest today, Valeriy Chaly, Chair of the UCMC Board, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine in 2009-2010 and Ukraine's Ambassador to US 2015-2019. I'm very honored to have you today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. UN Secretary-General and Ukrainian President Zelensky and his Turkish counterpart Erdogan met in Ukraine on Thursday. What are the general outcomes of these meetings, of these negotiations? And let's focus both on the benefits and risks for Ukraine.
Yes, it's a really important topic for international media and Ukrainian media. Just one reason. Because everybody understands this is not about the Green Deal or about some even nuclear explosion threats on Zaporizhia, NPP, but mostly about the idea of President Turkey to maintain EU platform to establish peace between Russia and Ukraine on the same format as a Green Deal, like Turkey is an intermediator and presence of United Nations General Secretary as a successful story. It's not finally complete, but it's in the very beginning. It seems like a success, primarily success of diplomatic efforts of personal diplomatic efforts by President of Turkey and General Secretary of UN. Partly as also success as a result of this deal for Ukraine, for President Zelensky, but the idea was just bring some messages from President of Russia to maintain peace in this the very specific circumstances when Russia continues the aggressive war against Ukraine, unprovoked war, and killed Ukrainians. It was very fresh, frankly, very emotional in Ukrainian society on killing in Kharkiv civilians, including the child. And that's a real problem in these circumstances to discuss the peace. But nevertheless, President of Turkey bring this message that he want to put on the one table President of Russia and President of Ukraine. So this was the main issue. Despite of all the talks about the bilateral agenda between Ukraine and Turkey and between Ukraine and UN and other things, that's its main. Speaking about this visit and the negotiation, I think it's good that we continues, Ukrainians continues to work with our partners. It's very important partners, Turkey, and despite of frankly, weaknesses of UN in security issues, in some other humanitarian issues, we count on General Secretary Guterres' position, including of exchange of prisoners of war and just release our people from Russia's prisons. So it's good that we have this negotiation, this meeting. President Zelensky of Ukraine welcomed their colleagues. Before very close event, Crimea platform. So everything was like good format, just demonstrate unity. And President of Turkey and UN Secretary-General very clear emphasizes of independence, territorial integrity, sovereignty of Ukraine, and that this war, unprovoked Russian war, should be stopped, must be stopped. But once again, the main issue, so-called peace, in a situation when Russia now opened the full-scale attack on all the front line, the more than 1,500 kilometers. So the result, very obvious. In these circumstances, we can't speak about peace because it's not absolutely no trust with aggressive attempts to occupy more territory of Ukraine. So it's like Russia continues to play this hybrid game. And from one hand, they want to fix the occupied territory of Ukraine, not to fix, but just have such a political agreement as we stop now. Occupied territory of Ukraine belong to Russia, and after that we will discuss something. What we should discuss, we can understand. That's why result very obvious. It was very predictable. This President of Turkey proposed something and demonstrated intermediate role of Turkey and his personal attempts and proposal, diplomatic role. In the same time, President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, absolutely it's the basis of our support of our people, because, you know, according to sociological surveys, 95% of Ukrainians don't agree with any deal before Russia deoccupied territory. President Zelensky was very clear. This is absolutely unacceptable. Talking about peace when we do not have that trusted one of the side of this negotiation. That's what we have now.
So besides talking about the nuclear issues, as you said, and talking about the grain issues of the grain exports of Ukrainian barley and wheat to the world countries, the parties discussed the political solutions to the war in Ukraine. Which solutions are acceptable for Ukraine and which might seem like a treason, and which compromises should be avoided by Ukrainian political elites?
You know, as I mentioned, it's very difficult to discuss peace when hot war on the I think it's like a top of this total war Russia against Ukraine. And I wanted to comment on the proposal to use the format of grain deal as a format for maintaining peace in Ukraine. From my point of view, it's very questionable. Is it format could be used? As Russia and Ukraine and Turkey as a mediator and presence of UN. Probably it could be used for some issues and decision and like a grain deal or exchange of prisoners during the war, but definitely not for just to sign some formal document or something as a result of war. Because from my point of view, in the result of war, when Ukraine will deoccupy their own territory, on our side should be with us, with Ukraine, should be United States, Great Britain, Poland, other European and NATO countries, because Russia many times mentioned this is war not against Ukraine, it's war against the US and NATO on the Ukraine territory. And to take into account this country and NATO itself not participate in this war, by supporting Ukraine, not participate in this war. Despite of that, the security issues after the war will be, from my point of view, very crucial and the basic component of the next building of European security order. and how to bring back the international law and international order as the only mechanism how to avoid the Russian next attempts to open war in Europe. So I'm very skeptical about this proposal for the final stage, but it could be useful from these preliminary steps. In any case, you can't just regret proposal for peace. We agree with that. We want to have more countries who want this peace, but we Ukrainians do not accept any proposal as a compromise to give our territories. This will be absolutely unacceptable for Ukrainians who now to live their lives for standing very firm to keep in this position. Not because just, we are not diplomats, we do not want to maintain peace. No, because we have had the experience that Russia just used this pause negotiation and this pause like a temporary break of the shelling as a preparing for next stage of war. So that's absolutely unacceptable. The only way how we can maintain the sustainable peace is to bring Ukraine in European security, not out. So from my point of view, it's the only way how we can do it is a membership in NATO or bilateral agreement with the United States or Great Britain like a nuclear state just to balance Russian attempts to attack us. So it's not a time to talk about the format and mechanisms of after the deoccupation. The first stage should be deoccupation and massive support now, not tomorrow, but now, massive support to Ukraine by the weapons, humanitarian aid, sanctions against Russia. So this window of opportunities will close, and now we need to demonstrate to Russia that any negotiations during the war, any attempts of Russians just grape occupied territory, absolutely unacceptable. So this is the only way how we should deal with Russians. From position of strong position. Weak position will invite Russia as aggressor for the next open stage of this hot war in Europe.
Thank you. Obviously, the current international system of relations has crashed after Russia's full-scale invasion in Ukraine, and we see that the formats like Normandy 4 format or Budapest Memorandum actually do not give any insurance to Ukraine concerning its territorial integrity and sovereignty. So definitely it's time for the new international entities to come to ensure Ukraine's, to guarantee Ukraine's actually safety. Does, I don't know, maybe Turkey or you mentioned US and UK, who should form this new coalition of the which international actors should be guarantors of Ukraine's safety?
The problem that Russia destroyed completely the system that was created after World War II and after Helsinki Agreement. Helsinki process, or the peace process, finally it was created OSCE in Europe and United Nations included in the statute. Very clear position. There's Russian now just change our understanding about the international order because, frankly, United Nations demonstrate absolutely I try to find the diplomatic word. There's no reaction for the destroying the older system this United Nations have in the security issues. So UN absolutely inefficient in security issues. Humanitarian things. Another, like General Secretary mentioned, this food security in the world. Yes, it could be part of the job of this entity, but not a security issue. So the main question: who will guarantee security in the world at whole and in some part of the world? The answer in our part of the world, in Europe and broader Euroatlantic territory, NATO. NATO, by the way, sometimes demonstrate weaknesses, sometimes demonstrate not readiness to find the efficient steps on some challenges and threats, but not now. Now we see this Russian aggression and Russian attempts to blackmailing US and NATO change significantly role of NATO and US in Europe. And we see that Finland and Sweden, who is like a Finland like a decades and Sweden like a centuries to keep in the position of neutrality, they now want to be NATO members. Why? Because they see the NATO more efficient system than just neutrality, and the same for Ukraine. So in our part of the world, in Europe, it's NATO. We should be a member of NATO, and we should go on this way, despite of some skepticism of the political level and not readiness of some NATO countries. This will, from my point of view, it will be a window of opportunities, and Ukraine should be in, not out, because when we will be out, this buffer zone, gray zone between NATO and Russia, Russia security and defense bloc. This now support Russian, by the way, some countries of this organization, former Tashkent Treaty and now Organization of Collective Security Treaty. All this war from 2014 and now full-scale war demonstrate that it's a better system when we do this collective security and defense organization have a common border and try to find the mechanism how to guarantee security on this common border. This common border should be in our Ukrainian eastern borders, and now our army fight for that. And finally, we will have such a situation. Speaking about the universal organization in the world, it should be, I don't know how to deal with it. Part of that should be reformed, part of that just not demonstrate ability to survive at this time as Russia undermined everything. So this will be a very difficult process of changing of this organization. Be frank with you, United Nations will remain, and other organizations will remain, especially such a MAGATE or other who play such a technical role, some important issues. But what's important is Russia will play not the same role as now. Russia will lose their position in some organization. Once again, first step for us, maintain security in Europe, because this war, unprovoked Russian war, is the main point, Europe. Despite of all talks about Taiwan, about Asia, about the Middle East, the main issue, how to guarantee security in Europe.
Yeah, thank you. So you see Ukraine's future should be not only connected to NATO, like our North Atlantic aspirations, but our membership in NATO, right? But this decision does not rely only on our aspirations and our wishes, of course. It depends on the decision of each member country of the NATO. Do you see the opportunity, Ukraine's opportunities to join maybe some local organizations, local treaties together with Poland, Baltic countries, or some other neighboring countries? Is it a good step before joining NATO, in your opinion?
Yes, good question. It's absolutely possible. I think we should go this way, but not like an alternative for NATO membership, but like a parallel process. If you mentioned Great Britain, Poland, and Ukraine, this on political level we have this initiative, and I believe British leadership continue the previous Boris Johnson policy, and probably Liz Truss, I believe she will be new Prime Minister of Great Britain. We'll see. I don't know. It's a decision by people in Great Britain, but not people now, mostly political functionaries. But in that case, there's Great Britain keeping the same position, and Poland, we see position of Poland. It's very close to our position in national security. Absolutely normal thing to create such a triangle, probably including more countries like Baltic states. And who is now, we need this security line from the north to south, and some countries in north could be also part of this group of countries, and it will be even easier because it will be like a part of NATO's countries.
Thank you for this interview. Thank you for your ideas, and thank you for your optimism. You've been watching Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center and Euroatlantic Course NGO. If you like our work, please like and share this video, and everything is gonna be Ukraine.